Kyle, do me a favor.
Hello, everyone. I'd like to welcome everyone to another episode of Heart to Heart with Bree. Tonight, I'm so happy to have the Emperor back, and my friend Larry Brown is also joining us. We'll be talking about the new season of the Premier League. Would you please introduce yourself to the viewers? I'll start with you, Larry.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to more visits to highlight the lovely game of soccer. So maybe
Soccer.
football slash football. Sorry, football slash soccer. Let me rephrase that. So,
Thank you.
so she gets hypnotized in the American system, right? So
Yes.
yeah, so we're here with, I'm glad to be on board with Bree, and you know, I'm gonna be here just making my little inputs and looking forward to some more visits. So I'm in South Florida and I've played for many years on a fairly high level. So this game I brought a lot of fun and good friends and intimate part of my life, I must say. So I'm thankful to be here and thankful for the sport.
Thank you for that introduction. And will you go ahead and introduce yourself, Emperor?
Yes, I am yours truly, the Emperor. Former player myself as well. I am a USSFB licensed coach. I am a USSF licensed referee. I am a football aficionado, and you could tell that I am a Gunners fan. A regular guest on Bree's show, and I'm very happy to be here again with her and her lovely audience and my king brother, Sir Larry. It's a pleasure to be here.
Likewise.
And Larry, you are a Man U supporter, right? No, not Man U, Man City supporter, right?
Right?
Okay. I know you're saying bite your tongue, girl, bite your tongue. Okay, so I'd like to begin with us talking about the FA Community Shield. I did watch that match. I was very excited about it. Arsenal really did shine in that one. What are your opinions on that match?
Go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Larry.
Oh, okay. Of course, I was disappointed. And I thought about you, and I was like, I'm not even gonna add to her fun by calling her. I just wait. But you know what? I wasn't surprised at the outcome because Man City is going through a transition,
Yes.
and I'm hoping it will be a positive transition because sometimes these things make or break teams. Being so used to a coach all these years, and you know, so a lot of things are going. But for the game itself, I enjoyed it. Hopefully, it was a learning experience and players getting to gel because after the World Cup, a lot of rust and stuff. But Arsenal have a good unit and they have gelled and they have the same coach. So I looked at them as being more stable at the moment than City. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Larry in that regard as well. And as a Gunner fan, it was really, really nice to see that that curtain raiser to the actual season was such a great display from the mighty Gunners. I mean, as Larry said, I think the team really clicked. Solace, the new signing on the left, just fitted in like he was here for 3-4 years going. It was great to see the skipper back to his usual best. I mean, he was
Yes.
playing, with a swagger that we haven't seen for about 2-3 years now. So that was really, really nice to see. It's nice to see that even with Saliba out, we were still able to keep a clean sheet, against a very good City team. I mean, granted, we were probably a little bit ahead of them in terms of preparation because we had most of our team back earlier, and played a few games, getting that gelling under our belt. But it was really nice to see how well we performed in that game on both sides of the ball.
It was a beauty. It definitely was. Let's talk about the top 10. I'll start with you, Emperor. What are your opinions on the top 10? And do you have any predictions? Who do you think will move up and who do you see going down?
Well, I mean, I genuinely still think Arsenal will finish on top of the pile, and not just as an Arsenal fan. I'm saying that, from what I've seen, and Larry even talked about, you know, some of it in terms of the stability that is within the team. We retain our coach. He's now the longest serving coach in the Premier League. And we've built out a structure that seems to be working. That took time to get into the motion that it has now found itself in, where everybody coming in understands, is non-negotiables and are, working. I could see that he's calling the squad, to some levels where I'm seeing some people is even saying it seems a bit cold-hearted, where people like Gabriel Jesus, Gabriel Martinelli, Ethan Waneri are now seeming to be fringe players. I mean, we already know Reese Nelson and Fabio Vieira, and some of these players are already on their way out of the club. But even Christian Norgard that he brought in last year didn't play much, and he's already on his way. Well, he's already out, and is at Everton. And that is a far cry from the Arsenal of old, where we had players hanging around like Eboué and Emmanuel Adebayor for him to do the thing that he ended up doing to us anyway. People like Robin Van Persie, who was always injured and have 1-2 great seasons and went off to Man United. When we kept these players on sentimental value more than their output and what we're looking to do as a club, that has changed. That has shifted, and he's got a well-oiled machine going. So I genuinely think they'll finish on top of the pile for those reasons and the fact that so many other big clubs, including City, has changed. Changed managers. They're now changing players, getting rid of some players like Savino. I seen Marmoush on his way out. Granted, they got a few players in towards the back end of last season, Semenyo and Mark Gay, and they've added quality to the team. But I think the stability that exists at Arsenal doesn't exist in most of the other clubs who should be challenging. We saw what happened with Man United in their first game against Hull. I still expect them to finish in the top 10. I do, as does Liverpool. Even though they struggled against Newcastle today, that was an emotional charged game. We expected that kind of. Still expect Liverpool to finish in the top 10. I expect Man United to finish there. I expect City to finish there. I expect Chelsea to finish there, even with all the upheaval going on there as well. And they're just adding players to that squad. Um, I really like what I see from Brentford against a weak Aston Villa team. So I expect Brentford to be in that top 10 based on that and based on the trajectory they've been on since replacing Thomas Frank with Keith Andrews. He steadied the ship. I mean, he came in much to a lot of people's surprise and steadied that ship and moved them forward. And I expect that to continue. I expect them to be in the top 10. Brighton is a team that I expect to be in the top 10 as well. They have a very young coach who's very smart and astute. And they have one of the best technology based data system in coaching. And some of us who are, old time football folk and even old time people in general, don't see the value in that, but there's great value in that. And that is why they identify so many young talents that we've never heard about and turn around and sell them like Baliba now. He's been sold to Man United for 75, 80 million pounds. We've never heard of Baliba before he came to Brighton, right? And their machine keeps churning. So I expect them to finish in the top 10. I think Bournemouth did really, really well under Ariola last season. And though he's left on to Liverpool, I think a system's been put in place to help them moving forward. They have a lot of young players too who's been doing really, really well. And I expect them to be in the top 10 as well. Um, the one team that I really don't want to say might be in the top 10, but they've made a lot of changes as well. This is Spurs I'm talking about now. They've added quite a number of players, some quality players, but I watched their first game and they're quite not yet a team. It's one game. It's 38 games in the season, so a lot
Yes.
can change within those 38 games. And the fact that they're not playing in Europe and just have the one Premier League game each week, right, outside of FA Cup and the League Cup, it might give them some time to gel together as a unit and make it in the top 10 because they do have quality players. Let's be honest about it. And they do have a very good coach, right? But, that leaves for me Sunderland on the outside. That leaves for me Forest on the outside. That leaves for me Leeds, who has done really well, coming up as one of the promoted teams from last year. But, you know, performed really well beyond expectations. And I watched their first game back, and they gave me pause for concern. I don't know if they'll gate crash the top 10, if I'm to be honest, but I want to give them an honorable mention. But I just think Forest, especially with Glasner in that group now, might be the 10th team in. So I'm going with those 10.
Okay, Larry.
Well, basically, I agree. Arsenal, being that they're gelled, and Mike Arteta, being well groomed from the City family. And
He was an Arsenal player and captain before City. Don't forget that, right? So he benefited from
they got to be somewhere pretty in there. So, um, you know, I have City still, getting a gel along the way. Um, in Brighton, Brentford, um, Manchester United. I figure they're gonna get their act together, although that's a every year thing for them. Um, Chelsea, I think, will make a little noise along the way there with was it Xabi Alonso? Is that the
Hmm.
coach? I think.
Yes.
Um, and Newcastle. I always like that team. They always kind of give me this, I wouldn't say false sense that they're gonna be there and then boom, they they disappear on me. So I'm kind of looking for them to be in there too this year. But I think it's Matthias. Matthias is the coach, right? Matthias is the manager. I
At
think.
Newcastle,
Yes.
they have a new manager. I don't know the
That's
previous name.
Matthias Castel, something like that. His name.
Yeah.
She's from Germany, so that much I know.
Right.
Bournemouth. Um, I like Marco Rose. That's their manager. Um, Oliver. That is Nottingham Forest. Oliver Glasson. I think that's
That's
the
yeah.
manager. I like them. Leeds also, and that should sum it up. Who kind of not say surprise, but hopefully they can keep it up. Is I liked how Hull City gave Manu a good run. You know, uh, Sergio, that's the coach, and I'm looking at them from the outside. But so far, that's who I'm looking at, like the 10 people. You know,
Okay, I'd like to welcome Mikey Go. Thank you so much for tuning in, Mikey. So, any opinions on the opening games? Were there any disappointments, any upsets? I mean, what's your take on the opening games?
of course, Hull City is a that must have been a very big eye opener. I think Tottenham, that's another one. You know, Tottenham. I think they spent some money this season, right?
Yes,
But
they spent a lot actually.
yeah, and they,
Yeah, spent a lot.
they didn't
Yeah.
look too great. Um, but so far, I mean, I think those two, right, would basically the eye
Yeah,
open.
I was also surprised. Not that I didn't
And
think
Leon
Brighton
Bailey whole
would
team.
Aston Villa.
What's their name?
So again,
Um, Leon Bailey's
yeah,
team.
Aston Villa, right? Yeah, they got battered by Brentford, and I think that
That
was kind of
yes,
a shocker. Especially given the scoreline.
that's those
That
three.
that was a kind of a shocker.
Yep,
Um, and I mean, results aside, I mean, Man City, your team came back to win today, but I'm pretty sure you'd have preferred a more comfortably afternoon than that at home.
to be honest with you, no, I'm not surprised because Haaland is a guy that I think a coach needs to recognize when he needs to sit on the bench for a little bit or to come out the game. There are times when he's just lost in the game, like he's just playing too square with the back line. He doesn't come too much in the game. Now I notice he comes a little deeper to try to go at the defense. But a lot of games he plays square with the defense, and it's like they know how to play. It's just like it's either you're gonna put a true ball, and if there's no room for him to run on a true ball, then he's just out the game. Today he missed a lot of chances, maybe because he got a haircut. He's probably having some work.
Yeah, but I mean, as a coach, I look at it different than that though, Larry. And it's your team. It's not my team, but I feel like having Alan play that, I give them an opportunity to stretch the team. If he's coming short, it gets the field more compact, and then it allows players like Doku and Semenyo on the other side. Even though Doku didn't play from the start this time around, but when Alan goes high and stretch the team, then people have more room to operate within. And guys like Phil Foden, playing in that pocket have more space to operate in. If he drops in, and he's not the greatest ball player, we all know that, right? He's great at scoring goals. He's powerful. He could run, and
That's
he's got,
skillful.
so
Very, very skillful. That's
there's
right.
not great benefit to be had for him dropping deep. It's not like a Dennis Bergkamp or them kind of guys who can come, or Kai Havertz, who can come short and link up the play and do it really really well, and add value to the team with other guys running in behind. So his main asset is doing that, keeping the team stretched. So those other guys who are good at the ball, good at with the ball at their feet, can do them thing, with more space. You know, so that's how I look at it. I don't know my team, so I don't want to
No, 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 no. I
yeah,
understand what you're saying, but there are
yeah,
certain games that he has played in where he's totally out for the whole game, and sometimes you have to change it up because if he allows himself to be marked out the game and he's high, and the
yeah.
team is down there with him and they're trying to give him a true ball and there's nowhere to really run, he's already in the 18. Sometimes him have to bring like Slovenia has speed, Nico has speed. You have to push it on them through because they're expecting a certain run from Holland most of the time is a lot sometimes predictable. You
But you
know,
already sold Savina to Spurs, and I'm understanding that you're selling Marmoush to them as well. I understand there's
yeah,
already a deal in
that's
place.
the thing with
So
City. I don't even know. I can probably I have to go read a book and keep up with these sales and transfers because they're cleaning house.
yeah,
So so like I said, they're going to be a bit unpredictable. Hopefully they can gel, but we'll see. This time will tell.
time
What
will tell. It's 37 games to go. One
exactly
down, 37 to go.
true, true.
Yeah.
We're going to spend a few minutes speaking about FIFA. Seems like you can't look at the news without seeing something about FIFA. I think back to doing the World Cup, Emperor, when I asked you, does FIFA love football? And I'm going to ask that question again because, in my opinion, just my humble opinion, I think I see FIFA loving money and not so much loving football. So I'd like, what's your take on what's going on with FIFA? And I'll start with you, Larry.
Well, right now I see FIFA or certain members of FIFA. Of course, money, you say root of all evil. That is one perfect example. They're going away from tradition. They're trying to take this to a new level of a very expensive sport for a certain, I would say, class of people. And I see when it comes to America, we tend to go in a very extreme direction. I remember the first World Cup here, and I was very much a part of what was going on. And the US had offered FIFA a lot of money to, if they would change the size of the goalposts, change the substitution amount, so they could have players running in and out like the NFL, so similar stuff. Because they say it was too boring, 0-0 games, 1-0. That I know for a fact that happened, and I said to myself, I see problems ahead because if FIFA starts sniffing and realizing, hey, there's money to be made here, it's gonna open up, you know, appetite for greed, and who knows what comes. Because America has always, to me, my personal opinion, always trying to knock on the door for change, like jealousy or envy out of a sport or something that they don't create. And of course, you have their version of football that they don't like to hear when they say soccer, and our real football is really the world's biggest sport. So they always pushing no disrespect to NFL, but when they say the world, NFL is like the champion, the world game, the world is. To me, a world thing is something that is played in all the other countries. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So I don't. When I look at them trying to push that, this is the world championship final at NFL. I'm like, here we go. And where did that football come from? You know what I'm saying? I say, okay. But to make a long story short, money. And we see what happened here this time. Rules bent to facilitate certain things. I was not surprised. What I saw, the bumptiousness of the president now to say he's going to sell out the shares of FIFA. And of course, who was behind and whose son is there waiting. And I'm like, why am I not surprised? What I'm happy to see right now and was hoping would happen is all these continents rebelling and coming together, like how the game is originally supposed to be of bringing people together. It's not about rich people because look at these prices. I mean, we can't, games come here. Who can afford to go to $8,000,
That's
$30,000?
that's ridiculous.
It was for the people of who is poor, whatever, because we make that the sport large of all class and creed. You're supposed to bring it together. So to go in at where you're gonna sell these things now, it's just gonna become just all about the money thing. A certain class will be able to go, and it's gonna take away the fun and the culture which is originated for away. So I'm glad they're coming together now and trying to get rid of this person and whoever is alongside with him. Hopefully, it will happen and they can realize in America that you can't change everything because it's just you against the world. So it's not
Emperor,
good. It's not good.
thank you for that.
Yeah, no,
Emperor,
I agree in large parts to your view, Bree, and Larry's perspective as well. I wouldn't go as far as say FIFA doesn't love football.
okay.
But it's clear that they seem to love money and power just as much, if not more, than they do love football.
When you say
Um,
FIFA, not interrupt, just say FIFA. That's why I said the certain members. Like,
mhm.
Yeah.
just take an individual. But FIFA stand for the, supposed to stand for the right thing.
Right.
Yes.
And our dear principal Lido Chin taught us that leadership reflects attitude, and the president of FIFA is the face of FIFA. I mean, we know certain people who are in FIFA, yes, because of their prominence in football, like Arsene Wenger and others. But I mean, when we say FIFA, the president stands as the representative of FIFA. And if he's the one leading certain charges, we can't just simply say the president of FIFA. That is FIFA, right? Under his directive, yes, and certain people has come forward to say, look, I know nothing about this. I learn about it in the media the same way the rest of you guys do. But it is still is leading of a world organization. When I say they love money and power more than, or if not as much as more than football, what I mean by that is when we okay, so if we go back to like even our marijuana, cannabis, right? We were told that this was a drug, right? We all know that this is a natural herb, right, with a lot of medicinal effects, benefits, and largely manufactured for a lot of things, including clothing, furniture, paper, a lot of stuff. And then we see that becomes commercialized and generally accepted and legalized, right, and decriminalized. But the people who push for that, largely the Rastafarian community, brethren and sisters who have been brutalized, criminalized, and criminalized, imprisoned, um, aren't the ones benefiting from that. So, to Larry's point, football has always been everybody's sport, including the poor man and poor woman, right? Because all you need is something that you could kick and move. And I specifically say something and not a ball, because I remember as kids we kicked anything that we could kick and it moved,
We use pint
Yeah.
box and put them
right?
in there.
I
Right?
remember that.
So from you could kick something and it move, you could play
Yeah.
football, right? But when I say FIFA love power and money, because this is what I mean. Now they are an organization that represents the world, right? The world in this case broken up in different continents and governing bodies, right? So you have the CONCACAF region, UEFA region, the Asian region, the African region, right? And they are representatives of those bodies. But just like in certain political sphere where you're seeing governments now acting like they're not just representatives of these people, but rulers of these people, will tell these people what they should and shouldn't do instead of representing these interests of the people, is what we're seeing happening in FIFA now. So instead of representing the interests of football, they're telling people what they're doing about football that doesn't have no basis in science or the general improvement of the game, but just out of born out of a greed and need for money that FIFA is flush with money and has billions in reserves, so it doesn't need the money. But to Larry's point, we know where this is coming from, with these private investors who don't know nothing about football. To my point with the marijuana, where I made it, right? These people know nothing about football. They don't know the laws of the game. They couldn't watch a game and tell you anything that's going on in the game. Their kids probably don't play the game. They've never played the game. They have no interest in the game, but just what the game can do for them on a financial level. That is it, right? And to see that FIFA has been corrupted to the point where it has considered that. And when we heard about it, let's be honest, that is not just the phase where they're seeing about its feasibility. They've gone far along already by the time we heard about that.
Yeah.
So good on UEFA, good on CONCACAF, good on Asia to say, no, this is not happening. Not with our sport, right? And we've seen the sport evolved over years, over centuries, right? Because the way the sport started to what the sport has become now, evolution has taken place over time for the
Yes.
betterment of the game, right? And we all can say the game has been better for all of those, right? But what we see happen in this World Cup, with even this halftime show, Shigatri or whatever terminology we want to call that, right? That is by definition of the laws of the game, a violation of its own laws. That is set by FIFA and IFAB. So they violated even their own laws and extended the 15-minute break beyond the time for what? Right? They broke the game up in quarters, telling us about hydration break. Hydration break if it's necessary, yes, but if it's an hydration break, why are we showing commercials for 3 minutes? And why are coaches tactically adjusting their play if it's just an hydration break?
Right.
Hydration break. Why are we having a hydration break in a air conditioned stadium in Houston or wherever else is covered and air conditioned when it's raining, right? And we have to postpone games for hours at a time. Why do we need a hydration break? So we saw what was happening.
As I say, it just they want to Americanize the thing because
Right.
break quarters football,
And I
it,
will say,
break
I'm
away.
very disappointed in my African Federation for still
Yes,
supporting
yes,
this. They're
yes.
the ones who have not come forward and put a stop to this forcefully, as CONCACAF, and I give praises and credit to them for that. UEFA, oh, if UEFA is not with it, it's probably not going to move forward, right?
Neither
So credit
the
to UEFA and CONCACAF,
Asian
right?
FIFA
Asia,
body,
right?
Asia is on board
Right.
and
So
CONCACAF.
for the CONMEBOL South American Football Federation and Africa Football Federation to not come out against this, really, really disappointed in them
It
too.
doesn't look good.
Yeah, but this is what people are the power. So these people who are elected to lead or selected to lead are supposed to be representing the people, not trumping the people in some draconian style to say you do what I say. No, you represent our interests. And politicians need to check themselves and realize this too. And people need to acknowledge and realize that we have the power because you're supposed to be representing me and my interests, not doing what you feel and tell me what I must do. That's not the way it works. It should be the reverse.
The Africans are being bribed under the table too.
Which is sad. I
I
think.
don't know that it's even under the table. It's open. I don't know.
It's under the table to shave
Yeah,
face, but
yeah,
I know that obvious for them because they're just like sold, and then what makes it look bad?
yeah.
Of all the people to seem to be sold, and then that's why these folks gonna laugh at us and say, "Look how quick they're ready to go against and look bad in the face of the world.
It's true.
Look who we got." That is the bad picture. They're not
Yeah.
looking like why we have all look how much oppression we have. This is not that we're getting this money. It's a form of oppression, like embarrassing you to say who is gonna grab the cookie, who's gonna grab the
Yeah.
list. Of course, here they go again. Can be
But
sold.
and it's a part of a ploy that's been long thought out,
No,
right?
long
Because if you
time.
think about it this way, the World Cup is supposed to be hosted in Africa as well, the next cycle, right? So it's going to be in Spain and Portugal, which covers Europe, right? It's going to be in Morocco, which covers
Morocco.
Africa. It's going to be in Uruguay, Argentina, right, which covers South America, right? And because it cannot be in the same continent, right, for any 2 year cycle. See how many continents get ruled out already, right? So what's left? Asia and North America. And where is it going next? Saudi Arabia, right? So 2038, where must it come back based on their own rules, based on their own laws, right? So when I say when we hear in these things, they're not just in a feasibility study phase. They've already thought this out and planned this out,
Mhm.
right? So 2030 at World Cup must be on these shores, not necessarily here in the US,
Yes.
in CONCACAF, by their own rules, because it can't be 2 cycles in any one place, and they
Right.
already rule out 5 places with 2034.
I don't know if you want to. I'm just being smart here. Technically call Morocco Africa because I don't think they call themselves Africa. But
I'm not going to fall into that trap. We can even go further back and say it wasn't even Africa, it was Abakilan. And we could even go further back and talk about the Berlin Conference, and how it was subdivided, and people tell us then what it is. We know better, and we should do better, and we shouldn't fall into that. I mean, I'm personally not falling into that.
They've been trying to get into the European Union. Look how they
Yeah.
treat their own Africans there. Look at the African Cup, the
But to
last.
your point, their own
That's my
Africans. So
point.
every
That's what I'm
so
kind of indirectly going like. I don't really look at them. To me, they're kind of like the South American blue and white folks
But
over
if you're going to say that, I'm not disputing that, Larry, but I'm pretty certain that there are real Africans in Morocco. The same way you have Africans in South Africa that's overrun by the Netherlands, by the Dutch people, right? And all other European people, and the Chinese, now I'm understanding, coming in now. So I'm not going to buy into that, right? People are colonizing it, yes. And people are gentrifying it, yes, and people are rebranding it, yes, that is true. Is it not Africa because that is happening? I don't think so. It is Africa, and there are African people there, right? So I'm not personally falling into that. I'm sorry. I'm. It is what it is. You
Yeah,
know.
they tried to go in the European Union, got rejected before. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that we did touch on this because I just felt like I know we're talking about the Premier League, but I did want to touch on what's going on with FIFA. Now, I'd like to lighten things up a little bit and talk about, why do we love the game of football? And I'll start with you, Emperor. What is it about this beautiful game that we love so much?
I remember the first time I actually thought about this question. My daughter, I don't want to bless her up, you love yourself, princess, because tomorrow she turns 21. My baby girl is all grown up.
Wow.
Yes.
It's congrats.
And I remember the first time I remember, I think she was probably doing something in school, and she was interviewing me, and she asked me, it's like, Daddy, why do you love football so much? And that was the first time I gave pause to the question and started to think about it. And when I think back, I'm like, wow, maybe I should have hated this game, because I've always been playing as far as I can remember. Just like Larry said, we used to stuff the juice boxes with newspaper and kick them, right, and play. We used to use the tennis balls, anything that we could kick and move. But I
Mhm.
got beaten a lot as a child for playing, because there was something I was supposed to be doing that I didn't do. I didn't come home from school in time. I came home with my uniform dirtied, or my boots, my shoes mouth kick out, or something, right? I get beaten playing in school because I was sweaty and late coming back to class. Like, I was always being beaten for playing the sport, right? But I never stopped. And I genuinely cannot think back to a moment or an event that made me just love it. It was just always something that we did as kids. We just play right into the night, into another day, if nobody stops us from playing, right? We would put bricks or stones in the middle of the road and play. If you and somebody else get together, you start a game until it just evolved into a fully blown game with other people passing by, right? And as we got older and we start to realize that we have some ability to play the game, and we get into a space where we are being coached by great people, like, my great coach, Dr. Iman Block, aka Dandy, and you realize, wow, you're winning things. You're being crowned national champion. You're being invited to play for the national team. You're becoming a parish champion. You get into college, and being offered to pay for your college tuition because you could play the game, you know, and you find yourself now teaching people to play the game. I formed my own club, and bring through a lot of young kids and help them to realize their dream of getting into college and into the professional space as well, and in their high schools playing the game. So it's just an organic birth, an organic love story for me personally, and I can't pinpoint one particular moment or event that, you know, um, evoked my love for the game, but plenty that should have probably say, hey, stay far from this game.
Larry?
Well, what I love when I started growing up and to understand life and listen to older people talking about football, I learned that it's a generational game. It's passed down, just like how certain things are passed down in generation. It's what make it so exciting is just like you listen to the stories of the older people. I used to get that a lot. So it's like people passing down things to you, and then you're like, wow, I can't wait to get there. And then start taking you to soccer games to watch. And it's like you want to kick that ball before you can even walk properly. That is how I came into the world with that. So, and then coming to see how it brings a lot of people together. So it's like a global thing that it unites people of all color and class, which is what it's supposed to be original. That's how the game came into existence. And it's a game that is a cheap game. Simple rules. You don't have to be rich to play it. It's not like golf to get all the great lessons. You have to have a certain amount of money. But what I mean? It just depends.
Yeah.
You can just go out there and just start learning and watching and just look and grab some skills and you start to practice in the backyard or wherever you get a chance. So it just bring that fun to the game that you see people of all class and color just enjoying it and then it's an emotional game. Sometimes people
Yes.
wonder, the big grown men cry. See, that's how it's so passionate. So it's a game that you just can't help but to fall in love with it. You know, it is just
True.
a game of unity. That's what it's about, and that's
Yes.
why we have to keep it together like that. It's not supposed to be divided into a certain class and everything. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
that's what
I
I
agree.
say is the fun of football. That it just bring everyone together, no matter creed, color, class, religion, anything. We just bring us. It's just that's how it's supposed to be.
No, I remember as a child the excitement of when George Best would play. My dad played cricket, so he never was really one to sit and watch football. But, we didn't have a lot of channels back then. So I remember when George Best would be playing and the excitement, the commentators, Georgie Best, and all, automatically I was drawn to that. And I always say I'm surprised that I was not a Man U supporter because I can tell you when I fell in love with Arsenal, when Charlie George that beautiful goal and slid on the ground. I fell in love with Arsenal that day. And my brother, for some reason, fell in love with Chelsea. So we both would sit and watch football all the time ever since we were kids, the two of us. And, I just always loved the game. And something that I think back to, I used to live on East Palm Avenue. And well, the front of the house was on East Palm Avenue, the back was on Peters Lane. I can't remember what they call that area, but I remember during the summer
Boys
that
Town.
boys, yeah, they would get together and have their own little football.
Yeah.
They would go to Carter Park. I remember my brother and all these guys. I'm telling you, and it just makes me think back to the innocence of it, how these boys could be organized like that, the different neighborhoods coming together, and they would go and have their little tournament. I remember that, but you said something about unity, Larry, and I agree with you. I love the fact that it encourages unity. I think it's a fun game. And I love the fact that because it was something I think that the working class people could hold on to, you didn't have to be rich to play the game. And, you know, I hope that it will always stay that way. I'm not saying that money is not important, but when money starts to become the thing and it's more about the money than the game, then I think you'll kill the game. We
Yeah.
have to go back to where it's about the love of the game. Yeah, money is great, but at the end of the day, let's keep it about the game.
And
And
allow
let's
opportunities
and
for kids.
Yes.
Because I mean, like for coaches now, it's become a part when they used to have like $100 a month when people would register. Now there are some heavy fees now, and I
Yeah.
have relatives that are like law in law, and then they call me, hey, the kid is playing, can you come look? And they might be up north or in Central Florida, and I'm like, how much you paying for the kid to play a year? 25 grand, 30 grand. I'm like, what? I'm
yeah.
like, to
Yeah.
help. They're
And
in some kind of academies that I really didn't know about, but I know they're there, but I know they're in there. But they,
Yes.
like,
yeah,
and everybody's selling this thing. Your kid gonna be a world star player, and then if they have the money, they're just like, oh, throw them over there.
right, right.
Here comes
Let's
this.
let's be honest about it, right? Even most of the Premier League teams that we're talking about now, even our beloved Arsenal, right? Most
Yeah.
of these teams are owned by American investors, right? Jeff Bezos just invested 38% into Liverpool, right? These people aren't football lovers or know anything about. These people are business people, and it's all about the money for these people. You made a point there, Larry, that I really want to touch on because it's really, really very important to appreciate of what you're saying about the unification that football brings to this world. When we think about wars that are being fought, and football caused these wars to pause, if not stop, you know, even for a moment. Civil wars being broken out in countries where players can appeal to the people through football to stop these wars, right? Even when Haiti was savagely ravaged again, so sadly, my brothers and sisters on that island of Haiti, right? It was the Brazilian national football team that went there to help keep their spirits up, right, through football. So this is really, to your point, Larry, a game that just unifies football and music are the two things that speaks no
Yes.
separation in terms of languages and who you are, culture, right? It just brings everybody together in that unification space, and we do want to acknowledge that. And you touched, sis, on George Best, right? And I do want to acknowledge as well that Kevin Keegan, another great of the game, was passed on. Today's game between Liverpool and Newcastle, I think, was a really fitting tribute to the great king. And even your Man City team, I think, acknowledged them prior to the start of their game. And I think these are really, really fitting tributes because, people, who might not even know who this guy was, can now go and look and see and probably see a lot in these pre-game celebrations of these people's lives, things they did for football, you know. So I think it's really fitting, that you mentioned George Bestos to give credit to those teams today, who lift up this virgin and highlight his work in the game.
It's
Yeah,
good to know that the
definitely,
team.
definitely. I'd like to welcome my cousin Lennon Lashley. Thank you so much for tuning in.
It's good to know these teams recognize it no matter who you played for a rivalry. At the end of the day, they have to understand it's just a sport. We're here
Yes.
for fun, it's unity, and then we shake hands. We're good friends after. We just come to battle, not to take things personal, and not
Right.
to try to make politics get in between sports because you see how people just come together out there, and after a while, you're like, but wait, these two countries fighting. Sometimes it just has nothing to do with us here. It's just
Right.
like people at the top that makes decisions that have nothing or have no idea what goes on in the trenches. People who makes decisions that have no idea what it is to pull a trigger or vice versa. You know what I'm saying? It's sad sometimes that some things it's hard to avoid, but sometimes have sports using it as putting it politics too much into sports, and athletes train so hard to come and
Yeah.
meet people and unite and get out there. I want to know that sorry, you're banned, you can't go over there because of this and that. It's very hard, it becomes a mental thing too, it,
Yeah. That's why I think we have to really remember, why we love the game. I know that there are people, they if they could have played the game for free, and they would do it. They played for the love of the game, and you know I hope that the game will stay that way. And as we do these episodes, I do want us to touch on these topics because I would just like to remind people of what this game is about. And I just hate to see the distractions. So yeah, we'll definitely touch on more of these topics. Now I have to ask you guys, who do you expect to stand out this season? And I'm talking about players, clubs, and managers. I'll start with you, Emperor.
Oh wow. I do. like the new. So I'm starting with players first, and I'm picking two because there's like 20 teams with so many players, and but I like what I see from Christos Salis, right? Our new left wing signing. Um, he is such a simple and effective football player, and I kind of like that, especially when we think that we're coming from a Gabriel Martinelli, who excites but doesn't necessarily always deliver, right? The end product, right? And as a winger, right, you're doing two things: you're crossing the ball or you having a shot on goal, right? The end product was just never normally there from Gabriel Martinelli. And while Leander Trossard had much more success, especially last season, gone the title winning season, it's really refreshing to see someone coming in who's so poised, right? So calm, but is so effective, right? His speed is very deceptive. His forward play is very direct, and his numbers are ridiculous in terms of the connections that he makes with his passes, the assist ratio that he has, and that he finds the net as regularly as he does. Right, so that is exciting to see, and I'm really looking forward to great things from him. Everything I've seen throughout preseason, in the Community Shield, and in the first game of the season tells me that this is going to be a very good signing for the Arsenal. So I'm picking him as one of the players to look forward to. Another player that I saw that really jumped out at me is the Brentford signing Sangari. Wow, is what I'll say. And ask the question, how is it that I never heard of this guy before Brentford signed him, right? And I'm wondering if all the other teams are probably thinking the same thing, right? This is a very young player, right? A midfield player, and they are hard to come by. I've seen some crazy money. Like we paid what $75 million for Bruno Guimaraes, and no disrespect to Bruno Guimaraes, right? Like he's a great player, 28 years old, right? This is a younger kid, much younger. I'm not saying he's quite Bruno Guimaraes yet, but I'm pretty sure he'll get there on the basis of what I saw in terms of his physicality, in terms of his progression of the ball, both in terms of passing it forward, dribbling it forward, linking up with the play from defense to attack. What I saw from this kid in that game against Tottenham was amazing. And I've never heard of him before he signed up with Brentford, and I'm really looking forward to seeing much more from that kid. Should he stay fit? Because there's always a caveat to it, right? They have to stay fit throughout the course of the season for us to see what we expect from them. But those are the two players I'm going to pick. There's plenty of players. Like I even saw this kid, Munoz, came on for Liverpool towards the end of their game today that I thought was really, really very direct and electrifying, and it's going to come good for them too. But I'm going with those two. As far as managers go, I'm looking for great things from Mikel Arteta for everything that I've said. And it's not just because I'm an Arsenal fan. I guess being an Arsenal fan gives me a lot more insight because it matters more to me and I pay attention more. But also the fact that he's, the longest serving manager now. He's 7 years on the job now, right? And it says something if you're on the job for 7 years, right? But the hunger that he has, even after all the success that he's had with winning the Premier League for the first time in 22 years, in making it to the Champions League final and only losing on penalties, right? He's not satisfied. He's still trying to improve that team. He's still trying to find little margins, right? People gave us a hard time last year and called us set piece FC, but one of the things I liked about that was that he accepted that we were struggling. Martin Odegaard was struggling. Bukayo Saka was struggling, right? And we got fouled a lot. So why not capitalize on the fouls that we're getting? Why not capitalize on the fact that Declan Rice could swing the ball in so perfectly, and Bukayo Saka from the other side, and that we have Gabriel who could head the ball so well. We have big defenders who could head the ball so well. I don't see that as a slight. I don't see that as a negative. I see that as a smart person who understands the tools at his disposal and using them to the benefit of his team. So I thought that was really, really great of him. And he's always talking about fine margins and improving on those margins and finding other margins, which is why he's so interested in other sports and watch other sports to understand the way they do things from a tactical perspective to see what he could also find as transferable skills to the game of football. So for those reasons, for his forward thinkingness, for his astuteness, in being in this job for 7 years and progress each year, I'm really looking forward to him as the senior manager now, in a comfortable position to push on. But I also do want to give notable mention to Fabian Ursula at Brighton, right? He was always a very confident, smart young coach, right? And speaking of young coaches, I'm loving the fact that so many young coaches. The guy at Newcastle that you talked about, Larry, he's 38 years old, right? There are
Yeah.
a lot of young coaches who are getting an opportunity to coach, and it doesn't matter what your passport or your birth certificate says, right? People are getting the opportunity if they're considered for them. Sadly, we're not seeing too many of our African brothers and sisters getting this opportunity, right? It's still a lot of French and German and Spanish people getting the opportunity, not much of our African brothers and sisters, but it's being spread out. And I also do want to give a notable mention to Keith Andrews, because when he came in a Brentford job last year, a lot of people were thinking they were going to go down, right? And they not only stayed up, right? They performed beyond expectations. And from what I've seen in that game so far against Tottenham, they are not relenting. They're not relenting, and there is a steady hand there, and I want to give him some credit for that. So with that said, the teams that I'm looking forward to seeing something from, aside from Arsenal, clearly, if I'm looking at Ursula as, that coach who, has been smart and confident and has this technology at his disposal that quite clearly him and his backroom staff and the whole club structure are using to such great effect. Then I would, it makes sense to expect from Brighton and Brentford to be total surprise packages in terms of the teams as well.
Okay. Larry?
Well, I mean, Morgan Rogers, Chelsea. I kind of like, I'm hoping that he'll shine to do something there. Um, you know, Bruno Guillermis. I think I'm pronouncing his last name right. I think that's Arsenal, right?
Yes.
Yeah, looking for him to fit in quite nicely. You know, I'm thinking about Elliot Anderson, but you might say, well, being a City man, I'm kind of a hard critic of them. I think City have a little habit of, I wouldn't say overpaying, but they pay a lot for folks, but sometimes when they come in there, they don't fit in that great. But he's new still. I given him time to see if he'll fit in. Like how Jack Grealish came and we had paid a lot for Jack, and Jack is like running up the hill like Jack and Jill. 1 minute over here, 1 minute. It's like they don't know what to do with Jack. So Jack played today. Don't know what. Don't be surprised if Jack is gone tomorrow. I guess the coach trying to give him a little chance. But I'm hoping that he looked well when he went to Everton, right?
Yes.
He was doing. I was like, man, different style. It's a chemistry thing sometimes. You know what I mean? And but I'm hoping Elliot Anderson will do something. You know what I mean? And Victor, what is his name? Victor Munoz, right?
Hmm.
Liverpool.
Yes.
Keeping an eye on this guy. He should be doing, hopefully, do well. Even what's his name? I heard he's injury prone now and probably have a groin injury. Isaac Alexander.
Alexander Isak. Yeah.
There's something going on with him injury wise, and today he didn't look himself. He looked a bit, and I heard that I was watching something, and they said that somebody from the Premier League, one of the commentators, said that they heard this that he's nursing a groin problem on top of his other injuries. So he looked a little bit kind of iffy today. So he's a guy that will score if you know. Yeah, I don't. You saw the game today?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you saw him kind of just look
Yeah.
a bit off today, right?
I think it was a tough environment for him to operate in, given the fact that he was playing against Newcastle, the team that he left so acrimoniously last year. And I think the environment got to him as well, because the Newcastle fans were really hostile towards him. So and I don't think Liverpool progressed the ball very well to him. To your point, like Man City versus Haaland. That is just my perspective. I do think he's a really great player, and I expect him to
Oh,
come
he
good.
is.
But
That's why I
today,
expected him.
today wasn't one of his
Just
better days.
yeah, yeah, it's true. I mean, hopefully it's not the injury case, and hopefully he'll settle. Because, like I said, that environment, to back where you just left, is a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? And Jonathan Manzambi is
Mm-hmm.
from Aston Villa. Although they got a whipping, hopefully he'll break out. You know, these guys are minority coming in, but hopefully he'll fit in. He's a guy looking forward to start shining as a newbie. You know, and the same Sagari, I think you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned him. He's yeah, that's about the guys that you know what I mean. I would ask who you think would be the golden boot for this run again.
Boy, I think you have to be a real brave soul to bet against Erling Haaland. Yeah, he's such a monster. But
Yeah, it's quite
I
a
mean,
few today, but like I
yeah,
said, just let him get used to that balance of the haircuts. We'll see. We'll
the
see.
great thing I think about the Premier League is that on any given day, because Iga Thiago pushed them to the wire last time around, and
Yeah,
there was some surprise packages in there. I mean, I would like to see if our new signing can get up to speed. Well, it's not new anymore because Victor Garcia already has a year under his belt. I'm not sure what's going on with him because I'm still hearing noise about Julian Alvarez, and seems like Atletico Madrid might want him in exchange for Julian Alvarez if they relent and let him come to us. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But yeah, you have to be a really brave soul to bet against Erling Haaland. You know, yeah, that's a monster. That's a monster, and he does know how to score goals.
yeah. Well, the season is young, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'll see when City finish with their um, auction, because there seems like an auction going on here. I can't get so you might say you're a city man. I don't know what's going on. Every minute I wake up, somebody gone. Then I sit on the bench and I say, okay, like him say, who is so? I just say, you know what? I'm gonna stress myself out. Let me just watch match and don't get too into their technical stuff. And I
Right.
see the people. City getting this one city. One thing about City, they have everybody down supposed to be signing, and then by the time this season finished, there's only one person them sign, but there's 50 names close to making the team. So
Yeah.
even though it used to stress me, I said I can't get into that because I
You guys signed a player that I really like today, though. Ayod Bayadi, the Moroccan player. You guys, that's a really pretty
is
tight.
he a done deal because I kind of tuned off for that. Every minute he's under pressure. Though we're having problems
Apparently,
somewhere.
there is an agreement in place with Lille, so it looks like it's going to happen.
So I just wait until them say here we go. He's there doing his medical because
Yeah.
they always give it all these 649 business. So
Yeah, that's the play I kept talking about during the World Cup, Bridget.
he's
You know,
Okay.
supposed to be the one
yeah, yeah, he's
replacing. He's supposed to be the replacement for Rodri,
yeah.
technically.
I don't know if you can have a replacement for Rodri,
No,
to be
but
honest.
technically, you know
But
what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Between
yeah,
him and Elliot, but
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
I have to ask you guys, do you have any closing thoughts?
well, I would like to see more. I would like to see them monitor VAR much better this year. Because they kind of screwed up a lot. Not just because I'm a City guy, but I think City got a lot of raw in the stick last season. With the
Okay.
one time they took like 7 or 8 minutes in a City game. Who does that? Timed it like 8 minutes to make a VAR decision.
Yeah. Then it's
So
not clear and obvious. Then.
it's crazy. I mean, regardless of City, they just need to. They have it for a reason. Deal with it. Like today, the City um, winner. I think
Mhm.
if that was Pep, it would be disallowed. I think they gave this new guy a break. Say, okay, Pep is gone now. Because normally those things would go against City. But I mean, for any other team, they need to do better with VAR and the disadvantage with teams that have a lot of players that represent countries I tell people, to me it's a disadvantage. Because one time I used to brag, hey, City have 12, 13 the most players that play for countries. When you go World Cup, we have a whole team. We have more than 11. But then when we come back to this season, guess what? Every minute, City had the most injuries last season. I mean, good thing we had a American football squad plus the youth team, because everybody playing international, there's no core. How much weeks for the year them get a break? Two? With all these leagues. Soccer gone crazy. It's just like there's no real vacation, and then it takes psychological effect. What people don't understand, you you make the team. You live in Jamaica. You live in another continent, and you only get to go home 2 weeks for the year. Before you know it, you're in this cup, that, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And even De Bruyne used to say he can't deal with it. Him start to get stressed out. And I realized, hey, there's only so much football your body can take. City every minute somebody jacked up. And a lot of teams with the most players that have international outings, they get injured a lot. So the people with less representatives will stay healthier because less games they're playing all year round.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So the guys need some rest, like a more family time, because there's a lot on the mental health. You know what, go? I
Yeah,
can
I
I
agree.
can relate to that.
I agree. Emperor?
Yeah, thank you for this opportunity, my queen sister. And I always try to use this platform when you give it to me to speak directly to our brothers and sisters. And by our brothers and sisters, I'm specifically talking to our king brothers and queen sisters of an African persuasion, African ancestry, because I'm seeing a pattern developing in our football, and I am not liking it very much. And I've made a pact to myself, and I spoke to my king brother Anif about it today, and he's similarly made a pact. One of the things I've seen happening, if we look right, and we talk about the black managers not getting an opportunity in the Premier League, or a lot of the big leagues around the world, but we could be players, right? And oftentimes we're lauded as some of the greatest players, right, or the better players in the teams, right? But that's as far as it goes. We don't get into management. We don't get onto the boards, right? We don't get into the decision making spaces, even in the referees. Coalition, right? We're not seeing too many of our African brothers and sisters breaking through the ranks, and I genuinely think it's purposeful. Marcus Garvey told us a long time ago, it's all about race. It is all about race, right? We're not only good enough as players, right? I don't know why Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, and all these guys could get the jobs that Saul Campbell, and these guys couldn't get. Well, we know why, but this is the point that I'm making. So the issue for me, what I'm finding now, my queen sister and my king brother, is that even when we listen to the commentators talk about our brothers playing the sport and our sisters playing the sport, right? We're strong, we're powerful, we're fast, we're athletic, right? We're skillful. But when we listen to our counterparts being commentated on, right, they're intelligent, they're incisive, their decision making process is so flawless, right? It's almost like they're pushing an intelligence argument versus a physical argument to represent us as a people. And I'm not liking it very much, right? Because we are very intelligent beings, right? When we make plays that are intelligent, I'm not hearing it being described as intelligent plays. And what I'm seeing happening is that we, as African brothers and sisters, right, and my dear king brother Larry, with the utmost respect, when we turn around and talk negatively about our king brothers and queen sisters and our nation and our space, right? It is fueling a fire that's been blazing out of control for way too long. And I have stopped it. And I would love to encourage my king brothers and queen sisters to stop it as well. My grandmother, rest her soul, used to tell me all the time, if you have nothing good to say, you don't have to say anything. So I'd rather be silent more than put my brother or sister down, right? And it's okay if my brother or sister have a bad game. I can choose not to talk about it or choose to say, I hope you rediscover your farm soon. We
Yeah.
saw that with Phil Foden when he played crap for 2 years and everybody kept talking about when he last played well, right? But Bukayo Saka have a bad day and Marcus Rashford have a bad day. They start telling you all type of things about them and why they're not performing. Raheem Sterling have a bad day, right? Nobody goes back to when they were great. Nobody talks about how wonderful they played and how they lift their teams and countries and adopted countries up. So I don't want to see myself or my king brothers and queen sisters playing into that argument and piling on to that. Say nothing or lift them up. That's the part
No,
that
I
I've.
agree. I agree, and I'm glad you mentioned Raheem Sterling because I wanted to touch on him, but we'll do that on the next episode because I often wonder about his mental health. When you're being dragged through the mud like that, it's like, it has to take its toll on an individual. So I'm glad you brought that point up, and I have to
What's happening
thank
with
you.
Leon Bailey right now too? We have to watch
Hmm.
that.
I
Leon
was
Bailey.
just
How
gonna
was
bring it up about Leon Bailey because I was just gonna interject a quick part thing. And maybe yeah, might not be the same topic with him, but same person. What I was upset about, one of the things is, I'm sure you know that this crazy stuff going on in Jamaica team with Speed and Butler, all that stuff going on there. And then what I didn't like is when they dropped out of the World Cup qualifying and they did a interview with Speed, and he said Leon was the worst player on the field in that particular game, and I was like, why even call the guy's name? I was not very comfortable with that, and I'm like, that's an example of what you're saying. Even
yes,
if you think, you know what I'm saying, that
Yeah.
bothers me to this day. I was like, you're a coach. It's like you know,
yeah.
you're my
That has
coach.
to affect that has to
Put
affect
me
a
out
player
there, like
mentally.
even if you don't like my dad or my mentor and you have something going on, but why signal my name out there? And you said it, I saw it,
Right.
and that's just my
Well,
interjection.
what, that's a great point, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, Emperor, because if your name is mentioned, like what you just said, Larry, to go home, he's dwelling on that, and then when he's playing the next time, I mean, yeah, we do have to be mindful of that. And, I'm looking forward to us having more conversations like this. I'm really looking forward to our next conversation next month. And I'd like to thank both of you so much for coming on tonight.
It's my pleasure, Brian. Thank you for
Pleasure
having
to
me.
be here.
You're welcome. Take care, everyone. I'm wishing
Don't
everyone a
worry, you have my
blessing.
number, man. Call me.
I will, my big
I had
brother. I
reached
will.
out to you one time, but I didn't hear from you.
I
I
will.
think
I
I
will.
heard why you didn't call me back anyway. I won't call any
Yeah.
name, but
It's love.
Breeze,
Always.
Breeze because I'm a city man, and I didn't even know you were an Arsenal person. So I was like, okay, that answers my question why you didn't call me back. Did I say that, Bree?
Let me tell you, Larry, I am glad that you're coming on board with Richie and I to do this. And Coach Andrew, if you're watching, I'm hoping you'll join us for the next episode.
Uh,
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Anything
I'm
else?
looking forward
Anything
to
else
it.
before? If there's anything you guys want to discuss next month, just let me know.
Sure, and if
Let me
anything
know.
like Arsenal lose, just give me the permission that I can have send a will call to check on you guys, like I used to do with Yankee and Scott when we didn't hear them again and they disappeared. We have to send the police over there to see if they're okay. So I have to find some people I can send to the Emperor place just in case.
Just not police. Just not police. And anybody.
I still have to find some people I can send. That's why I'm saying the others have to send police. The Emperor now I'll probably find some other goodwill to do a will call.
All right, my brother.
All
All
right.
right,
Live
guys,
on.
take care. I
Okay.
enjoyed this. Take care.
Bye
All
bye.
right. Take care. Have a good one. Be blessed.